Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern. Well, it's Friday on the show. Tomorrow is the Royal Rumble, and we have the lineup for you, and a lot of news coming out of the Royal Rumble. The odds have changed somewhat if you take those things seriously. So we're going to talk about the Royal Rumble here today on the show. We've also got a bunch of notes from the new edition of the Observer newsletter. More reasons why the Briscoes were never allowed to appear on WBD, which has now changed, by the way. We have the Dynamite ratings from Wednesday, which in fact did the best number since October 5th. Over 1 million viewers for the show on Wednesday night. Also got a new TV deal for AEW with DAZN. We've got updates on Wardlow. We've got updates on Doudrop. We got updates on Kenny Omega and his visa issues, a lawsuit regarding the Luchasaurus mask, and a lot more. In the final segment of the show, Jordan Clearwater is going to be joining us here today. We'll talk some NWA, some New Japan Strong, lots of other topics as well. The phone number, once again, 425-780-7566. That is the text message line. Don't call. Had a guy call yesterday. He was very angry no one answered. Well, don't call that number. 425-780-7566, only for text messages. Brian at WrestlingObserver.com is email. At Bryan Alvarez is the Twitter. And, of course, you can subscribe to my Twitter. We'll have a lot of fun scoops this weekend for the Royal Rumble commentary that is exclusive to my Twitter subscribers, my super followers. Maybe even a Q&A at some point this weekend. So check it out at Bryan Alvarez, at Sempervive as well. And a lot to get into when we come back from the break. So stick around, everybody. Observer Live. Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. Here with some life advice for all of my loyal listeners, the Twitch homies, the YouTube chatters, the latter of which probably could use a little bit of life advice since I've been on that chat before. My life advice to you, my friends, is that it's Friday afternoon. It's the last day of the work week, and the weekend is coming. Enjoy your afternoon. Maybe go have lunch at the Mongolian Grill. Stop by the mall. Pick up your children from school and take them to the playground. But don't waste your Friday on the internet trying to argue that Cody was never actually over. That is a waste of your time. But I saw a lot of that today. Yesterday, WWE had a superstore in conjunction with the Royal Rumble. And in fact, they sold out every last single solitary bit of Cody merchandise. He was far and away the top merchandise seller. Yes, more than Bray Wyatt, Alexa Bliss, and anyone else. He sold a lot of merch. So anyway, we got the Royal Rumble. Is he going to win? Well, I don't know, but you know what? We got new odds because we all love odds, don't we? And I got to say that he's still two-thirds. What does this mean? 2 to 3? What does that mean when you're two? See, I don't understand these modern day odds. What does that mean? 2 and 3?
Wait, how
does that
was
mean?
it listed?
It's listed 2, 3. It's like, is that good or bad? I know 2 and 1 would be 2 to 1. 2 to 3. What is that? Is that good?
It's 1 to 1.5.
Well, anyway,
reduce that down.
He's not as far and away, the odds-on favorites he was. Sami Zayn is now 2 to 1. The Rock is listed here as 7 to 2. I don't think The Rock's in the Royal Rumble, everybody.
That's 3.5 to 1.
But somehow everyone's got that idea. Steve Austin 10 to 1. So it looks like the odds-on favorites are still Cody Rhodes and Sami Zayn. So we'll see. We'll see what happens tomorrow. I don't even know if Sammy's in the Rumble. I'm not sure I'm ever going to get my voice back. By the way, we're going on 3 weeks now, and it's still not. It's still not what it once was.
Still can't hit those.
And actually,
high notes?
I'm glad it's not what it once was. But I wish it was back to what it was like 4 weeks ago. But anyway, we have still only 16 men announced for the Rumble, and 7 women. Bro, the Royal Rumble's tomorrow. We only have 7 women, okay? Now, they do have more than 30 women. There's more than 30 women in town. But as of this morning, they still didn't know which 30 were going to be in the Women's Royal Rumble. They're still trying to figure that out. Because, it's Friday. We still got another day. So they got to figure that out.
32 hours away from this thing?
Yeah, you got to figure this
Whatever
stuff out,
Jesus.
I mean, I've seen, anyway. And then, we've added Dominic to the men's Rumble. So
what are his odds right now?
I could look, actually.
I need to know what
let's see, Dominic
Vatos Locos is.
But I mean, they got guys like Jinder Mahal, who I don't even think is going to be in the Rumble.
No, he's working with Indus right now, right?
But let's see, Dominic. Man, I don't even see Dominic on this list. That poor bloke.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh, wait, well, hold on. I mean, Tony D'Angelo's on the list.
He is?
Yeah. Ezekiel is on the list.
What about Elias?
He's also on the list. What? I mean, it could be done.
Do they have the same odds?
No, Elias is 250 to 1.
Well,
and actually, Ezekiel's now off the board.
Oh,
yeah.
That lingering injury,
He'd at one point been 40 to 1.
40 to 1?
Yeah.
Hope nobody got their futures
Tyson Fury was
that.
off the board, but now he's 500 to 1.
What about Tyson Kidd?
Not on the board. Shankly is now 250 to 1.
Oh my God.
So that's better.
250.
But yeah, dude, I don't see Dominic anywhere.
Oh.
That's too bad.
I mean, Mommy's odds are good for the women, right?
So they're doing this storyline with Dominic and Ray that they've been doing for like 5 years now. And we're at the point here where Ray has left Monday Night Raw because he doesn't want to be around his son, because he refuses to ever face his son, right? So today on SmackDown, it is scheduled to be Karrion Kross against Rey Mysterio the night before the Rumble. And I believe that Dominic is going to screw his father and not only screw him, but this will lead to Karrion Kross injuring Rey. And so Rey is perhaps not even able to enter the Royal Rumble. But
that's a theory.
I mean, there's a lot of things they can do. I've heard other ideas as well.
Well, I mean, you could
which involve Rey in the Rumble.
Dominic screw him over, and then Rey throws Dominic out.
Yeah. So we're gonna see.
That way he can get a little bit of fatherly revenge without actually, putting fisticuffs to him. Dom could take a move from somebody else,
or they could end up in that Rumble together alone.
And
then Rey has no choice.
1-2, like Axe and Smash.
Actually, he would have a choice. His choice would be: do I fight my son here for a shot at the World Championship, or do I just leap over the top rope to the outside? Well, we'll find out, everybody. But
can't wait.
Yeah, Rhea Ripley is the odds-on favorite, followed by Raquel, and they actually have Alexa at 15-2. Although Bayley is 6-1 and Becky is 3-1. So those are the odds-on favorites in terms of that. For the matches themselves, Roman Reigns minus 1,000, Bianca Belair minus 1,000 now, and Bray Wyatt minus 1,000. Those are the expected winners of those top matches. So,
do you have enough time? I guess in theory you do, but, could you actually foresee them, flipping Raquel Rodriguez heel since they seem to want Charlotte to be a face and then get her revved up and ready to go so you at least have that match, which, as you stated yesterday, does not have to be a main event on either night or anything like that. It's just got to be a title defense, but, get Raquel up there.
I don't think Raquel is ready for a WrestleMania main event at this point, in my opinion.
No, not a main event, but just a match on the show.
Well, I think she'll have a match on the show. I mean, everyone's going to have a match on the show. Will it be a singles
Never
match?
mind.
I don't think so. But, I mean, hey, it's only there's 2 nights of Mania. She could do a match on one of the shows, a singles match, but, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at Bianca and Becky and Bayley and Rhea. You know what I'm saying? Second reason the Briscoes were not allowed on AEW television by Warner Brothers was revealed in this week's Observer newsletter. Dave Meltzer wrote that while the main issue was due to well-publicized homophobic tweets the late Jay Briscoe made nearly 10 years ago and later atoned for, a secondary reason was their past use of the Confederate flag on both their ring jackets and gear. Huh.
You seem shocked by that.
Well, I'm mildly shocked. I mean, I'm not completely shocked, but I am mildly shocked. I mean, I understand. Here's the thing, I've never been to their house. Maybe they've got the Confederate flag draped everywhere, but you would know as much as anybody. I mean, the Briscoes. I mean, that's the Briscoes, but there's also a gimmickry involved in the whole Briscoes act. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And this is pro wrestling, and I mean, there's a lot of gimmicks involved in a lot of acts. I mean, the tweets don't surprise me at all. Not at all. Confederate flag on ring gear for an act? Back in a moment, Observer Live. Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also WrestlingObserver.com. It's also been noted by many people here regarding the Confederate flag gear that they hadn't even worn it for years. It's been years since they wore that. So one way or the other, the restrictions have been lifted.
It had also been years since the tweet, so you wonder if it, exactly who was it? Was there one person? Were there a couple of people who, had something in for the Briscoes as opposed to other people, or choosing other people and past things to be brought up? That is interesting that I don't want to say that they singled them out, but obviously, in a way, they did single them out compared to a lot of other people that have gone through there who may have had controversial things done in the past or something like that. It certainly seems like they really did have a finger pointed at them. So, and as has been mentioned, they had not worn that stuff in quite some time. Again, does that make it right that they wore it before? No, actually it doesn't. But there are a lot of people that grow up in this area, the area that is west of me, that's what they're used to. They grow up with it all the time. And I actually understand, to be honest with you, from WBD's point of view, if they're looking at just the, people who don't understand wrestling, who don't understand the act, who see these characters or see images of these characters and go, I don't want that on my TV. And and to be honest, I cannot blame them for that. Now, why they did not listen to a row of people that had been standing up to say, hey, there have been changes made with this guy, I don't know. But, as far as that flag goes and all that, I mean, it was bad when they were wearing it. And I think that's a part of the education process. Again, we talked about this when it came to the tweets. There are people that never leave this peninsula. There are people that grow up down here for generations. They're on their farms. They have their small communities, their small families. They are God-fearing. They do a lot of all of those things that you would think from a small southern area. And they had to learn that, this stuff is outdated. It does not work now. It does not suit you or your characters. You don't need this. There's nothing. And they stopped using it. And, that's that. And unfortunately, these things are going to continue.
And what more do you want? They learned and they
know.
Changed. Right?
That's, again, we knew this because we know people that know them, have talked to them, have talked directly to them, have seen changes. Again, I just would say, look at the people that, of all creeds, colors, sexualities, that are coming out, talking about their personal relationships and dealings with the Briscoes and that family, and maybe put some stock into them. It's not like you just have one or two people that are jumping to the defense. There are a lot of people who these men touched and who actually were touched by other people to try to open themselves up and change how they look at things, change how they are. Because I'll tell you this, too, also living down here and seeing them at shows, because any WWE event that would come down, you would see them, or if you saw them at ROH shows, if you go there, wherever they happen to be performing, they were messing around with all sorts of kids, the kids that would run up to them. They were so, what the characters were and what I actually saw with my own eyes in reality after, for all of these years, there's a difference there. And I'm not going to say I love all their neighbors. That's for sure, because there's a lot of people that use that flag down here and want to be intimidating with it and want to be tough guys with it and want to be scary with it. Exactly the stereotype that you would think. There's a lot of people down here, the same way there is all over the world, all over this country, that want to live down to that. But they didn't. And hopefully that they can be a little more of a shining light for some of the people that they do live around who may not be like them.
Dynamite on Wednesday, 1.003 million, up 3.5% from last week. Largest total audience since October 5th. 18 to 49, a .32. Finished third on cable behind two NBA games, up 3.2% from last week as well. So up in every demo. The show did increase at the end of the show for the Mark Briscoe match. And Power Slap, 413,000, a .13. Golly.
So what was that final segment, about 991,000?
Just under $1 million. for the
So
final
what did I
segment,
say yesterday? 750,000 people turning off their TVs. I missed it by a little bit, but a lot of TVs went off. Slapped the hell out of that remote and got out of there. Smart people.
Couple of other notes here. A visa issue has prevented Kenny Omega from appearing on AEW TV over the last couple of weeks. Hasn't been on TV since the January 11th edition. And if you remember the Trios title match, which was actually the last time on television, we talked about how there had been a lot of... Young Bucks had done BT, and they said there had been a lot of stress leading up to the match, which somehow resulted in the internet deciding that meant that they all met with CM Punk.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, that didn't happen. Anyway, the issue was a visa issue.
Oh, no.
And the visa issue in question was Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega almost was not able to get into the country for the final match of the Best of 7.
Thanks, Don.
And now he has been dealing with it. And as of about a half hour ago, the belief was it appears to be cleared up, and he's probably going to be back on the show on Wednesday. But that is the update on him. We have AEW and Luchasaurus facing a lawsuit over merchandise rights for the mask design. WrestleNomics reported that mask designer CFX sued AEW and Luchasaurus, seeking profits that the two have earned in using the mask in merchandising, as well as damages and attorney fees. The report states that CFX said that he was authorized to use the mask as a performer, but that the company retaining merchandising rights to the design. So this was the original. There have been a few different Luchasaurus masks, and I believe that that he's the one that he has now after he turned heel is not the mask in question. It would have been the prior mask, which he'd used as a babyface. And I don't know how much they made off of it or whatever, but there is a lawsuit, and it's regarding the first mask that he used when he first came to AEW. Denise Salcedo, our own Denise Salcedo, interviewed Dewdrop, who has been out of action since September. And Dewdrop wrote that she had been very sick but was healing. She told Denise the health scare happened after she had, quote, a real bad case of COVID-19. The symptoms caused concern about her heart, but every single test she underwent did come back clean, and she stated her heart is in excellent condition. Had some time off to heal, she said, with a little bit of a health scare that luckily that's all it was, just a scare. Everything was always great. I got COVID real bad. The symptoms I was having, they were concerned about my heart. God bless them. They took the best care of me. They got every test for my heart they could muster. Every single one of them came back clean as a whistle. And much to some people's annoyance, she said, my heart is in excellent condition. That's not right. Nobody's hoping anything is wrong with her heart. Hopefully. It is the internet. The Wardlow update, according to the Observer, he is out of action due to an injury. But it is, quote, not believed to be one that will keep him out of action for a long time. So if you're wondering what happened, why he did the deal and then vanished, that is why. He has some sort of minor injury.
Well, that's no good.
No.
Now he can't wrestle the Creed brothers. Think we're actually going to get that match? Think they'll come up with some other reason for that not to happen?
What are you talking about?
I was just, making a joke about the minor injury that Indus Sher had suffered, the finger injury that has now lingered for weeks on.
What does Wardlow have to do with the Creed brothers?
I was just trying to do something to move this craptastic Friday show along, Brian.
What are you talking about? This has been a fine program. What's the problem? Hey, if you don't want to listen to it...
I'm still
if
trying
you don't
to
want to
figure out
listen
at the
to it,
beginning why you brought up Cody Rhodes in this discussion about don't ever argue whether he's not over or not. Again, what battle are you fighting in against
because
who?
that was everyone's stupid comment of the
Who
day
is everyone?
Oh, you haven't been on Twitter again?
Not
what do you
yours,
do in the
apparently.
morning? Golly.
The wrestling news.
All day today. It was Cody was never actually over until he came back to WWE. He wasn't really over on the Indies, and he wasn't really over in AEW. He's only been over since he came back. Yeah, all day today.
Is that what super followers get you?
No, my super followers are wildly intelligent. It's the normal timeline on Twitter. Hey, listen, if you want to listen to the show, fine, go. I got something you can listen to. Talk is Jericho with Nick Wayne and Bryan Alvarez. Up right now. Yeah. Talk all about this youngster. This 17-year-old heartthrob.
So you're stealing his
there's a picture that
spotlight button
that his mother put on Facebook, which my wife immediately sent to me. And it's Chris Jericho, Nick Wayne, and myself. And somebody had the brilliant idea to have me stand between them but behind them. So it looks like a scene out of The Hobbit. It looks like, Jericho brought his son to work.
Which one, you or
my
Nick?
Wife laughed. Nick looks like my father. My wife laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. And then I showed Paisley, and Paisley took one look and goes, "Who's that guy?" I said, "Which one?" She goes, "The tall one. Nick." God, do I have to deal with that already? Back in a moment with Jordan Clearwater, Observer Live. Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, also of WrestlingObserver.com. Very happy today to be joined by Jordan Clearwater. We got a lot to talk about here today. Jordan, how you doing?
Bryan, I am doing exceptionally well. Thank you for having me on the show.
You know, we've had a lot of NWA stars here on the show, and one thing they all have in common, my God, the way they dress. Look at this
That's
outfit.
right.
Look at this guy.
This is the golden boy right here, though. The difference between me and everybody else is this is all day, every day, baby.
Wow. Well, almost everyone else. There was also, for a while there, Nick Aldis. That guy.
Right.
That guy had some.
He had a hell of a suit, but I can tell you what. A tan and a suit. Now that's what's working for you right there, my man.
Well, the tan, the
right,
suit,
right.
and the bleached hair.
Yeah, I got a little bit of everything going on. See, I lost the tie and the cufflinks, go a little bit more informal, but the rest of the presentation, it's on point.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you, Jordan?
I am 25. I will be 26 on
25.
February 15th, so coming up here in a month.
Almost 26 years old. Golly.
Yes, sir.
We're very old here, but I ask because the look, so to speak, that you are sporting right now. This is a very old school look. The deep tan, the sharp suit, the blonde hair. I mean, if I didn't know better, you're young look and everything, I'd think you were, our age. But no. What did you grow up watching?
Sure. I grew up watching. Well, I have to backtrack. My family wasn't really too into professional wrestling growing up. So, I didn't really get a lot of the history and the legacy and the tradition in the business. I started watching in like 07, 08. I remember the first people that I saw were like Triple H. I think he was a babyface at the time, and about to go in the feud with Randy Orton into Mania 25. So that's what I started watching, but I really got an understanding for the business and went back in time to the tall, jacked, tan, blonde-haired, suited up wrestlers. And
Yes.
So that's the era that I fell in love with, the golden era of wrestling.
So what did you watch? What were your favorite performers and et cetera?
Sure. So, in the modern day, I would say it's Triple H, CM Punk, Chris Jericho. I know I threw a couple names out there that has some controversy as of late, but to backtrack, really how I built the character and the persona of the Golden Boy would be off of people like Kerry Von Erich. My last the Golden Boy jacket was actually modeled after his Yellow Rose of Texas, the blue one that he had when he won the NWA World Title from Ric Flair in Texas. So Kerry Von Erich is up there. Randy Poffo or Randy Savage, only because he played for the Cincinnati Reds. So, little unknown fact for a lot of Macho Man Randy Savage fans. And then finally, I would say Barry Windham as well. He had some stints in Japan, but also his stuff in America. Those were big influences on me growing up.
Now, who directed you to some of those influences? Obviously, being a young guy growing up and watching, in the mid-aughts, growing up and watching wrestling, who directed you to some of these people from 30 years back in the day to kind of, show you some things and to show you some matches and some people to try to learn from?
Yeah, well, I owe discovering the business to my brother. Playing with the television remote at 9 o'clock at night and stumbled across Monday Night Raw. My mom said, "Hey, turn that off. It's your bedtime." So, I owe that to him. But to backtrack, I really owe Roger Ruffin, the person that trained me out of Cincinnati, Ohio. He really encouraged me to get a better understanding for where the business came from and really modeled my professional wrestling style after that. So that's where I started my love for that era of professional wrestling, the 60s, 70s, into the 80s. And now I'm on a binge of the 90s. So I've been doing that recently, but Roger really told me to go back and kind of learn where everything came from so I could understand and really modify stuff to today's standard.
Now, we do have NWA Power Live January 31st, which is going to be taking place at the Knoxville Convention Center in Knoxville, Tennessee. And you can grab tickets, nwatix.com. And we're going to talk about NWA in a moment, but the first time that I ever saw you, Jordan, is New Japan Strong. And I think
Sure.
I probably have seen every single match you ever had for New Japan Strong because I am a religious viewer of that program.
Fantastic.
And it was mostly a few years ago. How much you didn't do a ton of Strong 2022 or did you?
No, I think I was offered. I think the last strong I was offered was the most recent one in December, but I had a competing booking at the time that I had to honor. But prior to that, I did start to tail off once I joined the NWA in 21, and then again towards 22, I had a few once I was strong. I think the last legitimate match I had was over the summertime. I think I wrestled Jeff Cobb out of the Vermont in Hollywood.
How did you get hooked up with Strong?
Well, I know Carl Anderson through Roger Ruffin. We both trained at the same school. I was able to go over while he was still living in Cincinnati, get to know his family, his friends, and by virtue, Rocky Romero. But when I moved to California and COVID hit, wrestling shut down. I remember I was vacationing in Colorado in a grocery store, and Aaron Stevens gives me a call, right? And Aaron's like, "Hey, would you be interested in working for New Japan Strong?" And I was like, of course, I would love to work for New Japan. And he said, well, Rocky Romero is going to give you a call in 15 seconds. And I suggest that you answer that call, click. And I'm like, oh, what? I haven't wrestled in months, right? I mean, gyms are closed, wrestling shows aren't happening. And sure enough, Rocky gives me a call and says, hey, Aaron spoke very highly of you. I was working for the United Wrestling Network at the time, so that's how that connection was really made. But Rocky asked me if I wanted to come aboard to New Japan Strong, and of course I couldn't say no to that. I mean, what a great opportunity.
In another lifetime, both Rocky Romero and Carl Anderson worked for Dave Marquez out there in NWA Hollywood, and that's basically where the UWN, that's what it morphed into, and you've been a champion there. Can you talk a little bit about the UWN? Because a lot of people think about the NWA and don't really realize that there's the support system around it, including Dave Marquez, who's done everything in this business. Can you talk a little bit about that in that television show?
Sure. For those that don't know, I like to think of United Wrestling Network almost as a regional NWA, kind of back to the days when it was split amongst promotions, right, that held the NWA title. The United Wrestling Network does a television show as well, broadcasted on 250 different stations across the country, and we're also available online. Much similar to the NWA, we have a small studio platform that we perform in, and we do some pay-per-views from time to time. Recently, I was the UWN World Heavyweight Champion. I beat the inaugural champion Chris Dickinson back in May, and so I held the title for about 7 to 8 months until last December. And it's a great promotion. A lot of the people you're familiar with from the NWA have performed on UWN. You mentioned some pretty big names like Rocky Romero, Carl Anderson came through UWN. You think of people like Adam Pearce, who's well involved in WWE today, Colt Cabana. All of those guys came through the UWN and even fought for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship on Dave Marquez's programs. So, they've done a lot over the years that they've been in business.
Yeah, Pearce and Cabana had one of the best things going on at the time, that battle over that right. NWA title, until dumb politics got involved in everything. And, I guess
right. 7 levels of hate.
Yeah, when it comes to the NWA, it's tough to try to find a footing. You got so much going on. There's so much available, including things like New Japan Strong. How is it working for the NWA, and how is it trying to kind of carve out a niche? And what can people? Why should people check you out in this busy environment with everything that's going on? Why should people spend their time checking out the NWA?
Sure. Well, to answer your first question, the NWA definitely is going through a rebuilding phase, especially coming back from COVID. So we're trying to reestablish the brand, and that takes time. But the best part about the timing of reestablishing the NWA brand is, and Bryan, I think you would agree with me, is that professional wrestling today is in a hot streak. We're seeing a lot of different promotions and indie promotions and even professional wrestlers that are able to make a living not under, a big name contract like the WWE or like an AEW, right? So, we have a lot of wrestling out there, and that kind of leads to my value prop with the NWA is WWE is doing their thing. AEW is doing their thing. New Japan does their thing. Impact does their thing, and they do those things well. But the NWA is able to combine all of those styles under one roof. I mean, I was grabbed from New Japan Strong to go to the NWA. So were people like Kratos. We have some old WWE veterans like Aaron Stevens, Tyrus, Trevor Murdoch. Then we also had an influx of AEW and Ring of Honor talent that came through. They went back to the programming now that they've rebooted Ring of Honor, but we still have some of those lingering talents that perform under the NWA banner. So what I would say is, if you're looking for a product that's going to be middle of the road, prevent professional wrestling the way it's always been, and as well as combine styles from all of the different promotions, you're going to want to tune into the NWA. We have a 45-minute television show. It's an easy watch, and it's a story-driven product. So if you're ready to be invested, then tune in. It's one that's not just a super card. It's one that just told over months and months of television.
You know, it's funny you mentioned television, Jordan Clearwater, as you are the champion.
That's right.
Of television.
That's right. I am the champion of television for the NWA, and
yes.
I couldn't tell you, how much that title means to me. I mean, again, Brian, you probably know as well as I do the lineage behind that title, the names of the people that held that through WCW and even into the territorial days. I mean, the NWA World Television title has been seen and held by Dusty Rhodes, Stunning Steve Austin, all of the greats, they've held that title. So I don't take that responsibility lightly.
And if you hold on to it, I mean, look, you make a couple of defenses, that could be your golden ticket to the World Championship, correct?
I would think so. I mean, that's the plan. I want to be the best NWA World Television Champion while I can be, but sure as can be, when I hit that lucky 7, Tyrus, we might be in the same faction, might be in the same group, but I know we're open to some competition, and I'm coming.
That doesn't matter. You know as well as anybody, it doesn't matter if you're in the same faction. We're in this business for a reason. That World Championship.
Right. Make that money.
Now, I have been alerted by a super secret source that you are going to defend the title on this upcoming show, but I don't know against who. Now, is this like a mystery opponent, or is it just still to be determined?
You know probably more than I do, so I'm going to go with a mystery opponent, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that there is somebody lurking in the shadows, but right now, for me, it's a mystery opponent.
All right. Now, Idlemania Sports Management, I mean, I look at you, Jordan, and I don't want to cause a rift or anything like that, but you should be running this thing.
Hey, no, I couldn't agree more. I learned from the best, Austin Idol. I'm basically a carbon copy of him from his time in Memphis. Or I guess I could say Austin is a carbon copy of Jordan Clearwater, right?
That's right.
Yeah, no, I definitely want to take over the helms of Idlemania Sports Management. I've got the gift of gab, and I've got the ability in the ring, so why not?
But can you be the universal heartthrob?
Oh, man.
What kind of a question is that? God. Now,
I can't yell like Austin can on commentary. That's the only thing that I'm missing.
Now, is it true? I believe Kevin Kelly once noted that, at least for a while, you were a banker.
That is true. I am still currently a banker. Well, I'm a wealth management associate with Morgan Stanley. So I really am in charge of equities, fixed income, all securities-related transactions as it relates to our business here in California.
Wow. Yeah, I'm on fixed income, I can tell you that.
Mike probably needs to talk to you off the air. That's be my guess.
What's the opposite?
Actually, I'm the one that should talk to you off the air. I need some wealth management advice.
How do you manage negative zeros?
I got so much wealth, I don't even know what to do with it. Well, yes, January 31st is the show, NationalWrestlingAlliance.com. And I believe if you head up there's info on a bunch of upcoming shows here. But the big one is this coming Tuesday, NWA Power Live. You know how much I used to love that NWA Power show? Man, oh man.
Oh man. Yeah, when they first started that reboot, what was that with? Again, you mentioned Nick, but they had Ricky Starks and Eddie Kingston and everything like that. That's really what I started watching, that revamped product as well. I saw that, and I was on a podcast just like this, Brian, and I said, mark my words, the Golden Boy Jordan Clearwater will be an NWA. That's exactly the style that I'm looking to perform under.
All right, stand by. Back in a moment with more Observer Live. The show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. Mike Sempervive, Jordan Clearwater, the king of television, is joining us here today. And you should know what a king of television he is by the way he hit that break without even hearing the music. But yeah, we got a couple of minutes left. Let's get some plugs in for the NWA Power Live show on the 31st and your own social media, etc.
You got it. So you mentioned that the big one, NWA Power Live, for the first time ever this upcoming Tuesday. We also have Nuff Said, which is sold out on pay-per-view, so you'll have to tune in from your smartphone or computer on February 11th, 12th, and 13th will be our power taping, so there are still tickets available. And I'm an easy one, Bryan, at Clear Like Water 1 on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You might ask, why not at The Golden Boy? The Boxer has that one, so unfortunately, not today, but, I had to go with some kind of water pun.
You couldn't talk him out of that one?
I couldn't. Maybe I'll meet him down in Mexico. We'll have a conversation over some tequila.
I say get him drunk. He'll do anything.
That's right.
At Clear Like Water 1. What a fitting handle, because that interview was clear like water, Jordan. You're going places, kid. That's my prediction here on this program.
Awesome, Bryan. Well, I hope your prediction comes true. I'm right there with you.
Well, I want to thank you very much for doing the show here today. That is January 1st, NationalWrestlingAlliance.com if you want to grab tickets. Tickets available, $20 to $40. It's at the Knoxville Convention Center, Knoxville, Tennessee. NWATix.com. Also, by the way, Fight.tv and YouTube.com/NWA for the YouTube channel. And Jordan, thanks so much for doing the show today. We really appreciate it.
Awesome, Bryan. Thank you so much for having me.
And, of course, thanks, everybody, for listening. We got to wrap it up for today. We'll be back tomorrow after the Royal Rumble, everybody. Enjoy your Rumble parties. And that's it. We'll talk to you again after a while.